She loved you.
Yes. Maybe if I waited to tell her.
No. There ain't no waiting. Not in this world. Waiting, that's how you lose people.
We first met the character John Dorie in Season 4 Episode 1. He was a lonely cowboy that had been on the road for a long time. He was on the road for so long because he was looking for a character we all know now as June, and he found her. He achieved his goal, and now that Dwight has crossed over, he is someone that can learn from John's story and find his wife Sherry. So I think John Dorie's story has ended. I think he's going to die this season. And by the end of this video, I think you will too. Of course, before we begin, if you want to win this comic Rick Grimes action figure, all you've got to do is follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. The giveaway ends on the 26th of June, and the winner will be announced in the nearest video to that date. So the whole reason I'm saying John Dorie is most probably going to die this season is because there's a lot more than just his story ending. We could even say June's story has ended, but there's just a lot more suggesting that John will. And I only started thinking this recently, even in Season 4. We weren't even sure that John would ever find June. But he did, and now out of all the stuff the characters have been through, John is really like the glue to the characters, because like so many other characters in the main show and on this show, he represents hope. Of course you could say Alicia or Morgan. I think mainly Alicia is the leader, but John really represents hope because of how innocent he is, how he uses his innocence and his humour to lighten up situations. A bit like the scene where he shoots the axe and kills the walkers with one split bullet. If that was just June trying to save Dwight, it's a bit of a dark scene. It's not as light without John. Now, of course, this doesn't mean these characters have to have hope removed from them. Of course, the main focus this season is helping people. My first thought is that Morgan would die. Because, of course, I mean, obviously, we've seen him. We've seen him go from not helping to killing. And we see what he's trying to be. He's trying to be a better man. And there was this stuff with the actor behind Morgan. Lenny James is actually said to be in a new Star Wars movie or something to do with Star Wars, which was rumoured to take him away from the show, but I don't think it will. I've always thought Morgan will die. I think that's definitely going to be an end to his story. It would be a fitting end if he died, leaving all the characters still alive and left in fear to go on and help people even more in Morgan's name. But Morgan is still stuck. You might not realise that, but he really is. He would be dying in the middle of his story. As tedious as his story may seem to you, as back and forth it does go, I do think he can't die yet. He's still doing his story. And I never used to think this, but now he's gone to Fear the Walking Dead, now that Rick has left, I do think he needs to reunite with Rick Grimes. If he had died in Season 8, then of course it would have been fitting then, but now he's been moved over to Fear and Rick's left the show. I think they have to meet again. It's really important. And if you look at all these characters in Fear the Walking Dead right now on your screen from Season 5, John Dorie is the only one who, if he died the next episode, you'd know his story was finished. He achieved his goal. However, I've also said from the start of Season 5 that Luciana is going to die, because as soon as she got that wound from the plane, it became a disadvantage. We saw she tried to kill the walkers at the end of episode 2 and nearly died doing it. She couldn't raise her right arm, and so she tried using her left arm, all she could use, and she nearly died doing it. But then I realised something. Whose gun does she use in this scene? John's. She uses John's cowboy revolver to defend herself. John gave it to her so she could defend herself, and she was left behind because she was wounded. And so the way I see John going out is dying for the rest of the characters, not just for June, not just for Luciana, but for everyone. The main characters of Fear will reunite as one big group again, and they will be completely motivated to carry on helping people because of John's death. Because that's what John always did. Before the group had this whole motive to help people, John was always doing that anyway. This is exactly why I don't think June will die, because she was a medic before and didn't help people. She had to make that change. She's had that development, whereas John has always helped people, so his death would be the only death to push people forward. Not just the main characters like Morgan and June. I mean, Morgan and June especially, of course. Like, don't forget, when Morgan was even more stuck than he is now, coming back from season 8 and coming to Fear, John was the first character he spoke to. Morgan even said in the season 4 finale that he needs them, he needs John. But apart from the main characters obviously grieving his death and moving forward because of it, Dwight's arrival really confirmed his death for me because their stories are so alike. When John dies, Dwight will see that John achieved all that Dwight wants to. He found who he loved. And it will push his story massively, and I do think he's going to find Sherry because of John. Now, this is probably the darkest foreshadowing I've ever seen, because it happens in the show and on social media. In season 5 episode 1, we really saw quite a lot of foreshadowing. We heard Morgan say to John he hates flying, and I think that's foreshadowing Morgan going on a helicopter at some point. And of course, like most characters that love each other on The Walking Dead, we got a ton of stuff of them talking about how lucky they are. Especially John, of course, he said in the trailer he thinks he's got all the luck in the world. But the biggest and darkest foreshadowing I think I've ever seen in Fear the Walking Dead is in season 5 episode 1, just a couple of weeks ago. John finds a tape called One Night. The front cover shows a woman looking up to the moon alone. He shows June when they're talking. He wants to show it to everyone. June suggests they watch it now. There's a VHS in the bathroom. They could go and watch it right now. But John wants to wait till everybody sees. He will not play this tape until everybody is awake. This was the premiere to season 5. This is episode 1 of season 5. On the lead up to this premiere, Garret Dillahunt, the actor for John Dorie, posted on Twitter a picture of his chair sitting in the middle of nowhere in the night, with just the moon to light up the scene. It is directly representing the front cover to the VHS tape that John showed June. The picture was uploaded to Twitter by Garret Dillahunt and was captioned with only 2 words. These 2 words are "last up." So I think it's safe to assume this is Garret Dillahunt's last scene of the season at least. But what could it be? What could this picture suggest? Well, if we really look at the picture, it's similar to many deaths on The Walking Dead. For example, Dale. He was torn apart by a single walker and had to be put down in the end, under the moonlight. Of course, Shane also had to be put down under the moonlight. This doesn't mean all scenes under the moonlight means characters will die. It's just a simple way of writing. It's a really cool way to have a scene where someone dies. It makes a setting, it makes the scene. But with Garret Dillahunt, the actor for John Dorie, posting a picture of his acting chair in front of such a scene, in front of a single tree with the moonlight shining down on it, it suggests to me that he does die. And with all I've been saying about what we've been seeing in season 5, I do think John Dorie is destined to die. I think he's going to die for June or for Luciana and the rest of the group. With this picture showing a tree, I do see him sitting at it, similar to how Rick did in the season 8 finale, and I think he's going to get bit. And I can see June or Dwight having to put him down. Obviously, I think June would make more sense, but of course, a big thing that would come from this is Dwight's development. I think it's perfect. In hindsight, I think what's happened to the show is really good. Of course, I said in my last video that I wasn't too happy with what went on in episode 3, but I think it's really cleverly well done. The first characters in Fear that Dwight met was John and June, because that's exactly what Dwight wants, to find Sherry, to find his wife. And so for Dwight to see that, it's just so big for his character. It stopped him from killing himself. It was that good. For him to see someone, to hear John's story, it just means so much for his character, because he was going to give up and he didn't, and that's because of John. And before Dwight came into the show, I didn't really consider John as possible to die as much, but as soon as I saw that, it really opened my eyes to what the show was doing. So remember, I don't want John to die. I genuinely think he's one of the best characters in the universe of The Walking Dead, but I'm just telling you how it is. I'm telling you what I genuinely think is going to happen, but more importantly, what do you think? On the top right of your screen, there's going to be an eye icon. Just click or tap on that and you can vote in the poll. Do you think John Dorie will die in season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead? Make sure to let me know. Of course, make sure you comment down below what you think. I try to read all of them. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, if you want to support me, then press the like button. It genuinely helps. And of course, make sure you check out yesterday's video. We completely break down the trailer for episode 4 for season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead. There is a lot that you might have missed in that trailer, because I definitely did on my first watch through of it, so I had to re-watch it a few times, and there's a lot hidden in there. So if you watch that video, you'll know everything you need to know about episode 4. A lot to do with Rick Grimes and the CRM, so make sure you go and check that one out. And of course, another video you'll like is last week's video about when Rick will possibly reunite with Morgan. There's a lot hinting at something big happening to do with Rick in the mid-season finale, or at least the main show. So if you want to go and know everything you need to know about that, then make sure to go and check that out. And of course, my other video is a Q&A video where we talk about Negan finding Lucille, when Rick Grimes could return, and the next big death in season 10. Make sure to go and check that out. And make sure to subscribe so that you are the first to hear about The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching. See you soon.